Hello dear students, welcome to this program. In today's program, we are going to discuss about the philosophy of Jainism. The main objectives in this topic are, we'll be discussing about the basic tenets of Jain philosophy. We shall also discuss the Jain epistemology, especially the concept of Syadvada. We'll understand the concept of soul or jiva. We'll also discuss the concept of self and identity in Jainism. Dear students, Jainism is the name given to one of the Indian religious systems. The teachings of Jainism are eternal according to its own beliefs and hence have no creator yet. The Jainism of our period may be traced back to Mahavira, a 6th century BCE teacher who was a contemporary of the Buddha. Mahavira's ideas, like those of Buddha, were developed in response to and rejection of Brahmanism, a Hindu religious philosophy based on the Vedas and Upanishads, which was forming at the time. The Brahmins preached a severe caste system and a reincarnation philosophy based on karma or merit, which is determined by the moral aspect of one's acts. Their ideologies were known as orthodox darshanas, as they accepted the Vedas and Upanishads' authority. Darshana literally means view. Because they taught the Vedas and Upanishads, Jainism and Buddhism, as well as a school of materialists known as Charvaka, were viewed as unorthodox darshanas, and so the Brahman caste had no authority. Jainism, like Buddhism, is a Brahmanic tradition because of their reluctance to recognize Vedic authority. Buddhism and Jainism, as well as materialism, means Charvaka, have been labeled as unorthodox or heterodox schools. The fundamental beliefs are that there is a clear distinction between souls and matter. Those souls are generally implicated in the painful cycle of rebirth due to karma, and that ultimate deliverance of the soul is achievable via the practice of virtue, meditation, and severe austerity. Although Jainism is agnostic, it acknowledges the existence of gods as creatures inside the cosmos. Jinna is the root of the word Jainism and Jaina. The term Jinna has the etymological meaning of conqueror because they defeated all desires, raga and dvesha, and obtained liberation. The 24 gurus, Tirthankaras, were given this name. Jainism is more commonly referred to as a philosophy or a way of life than as religion. Religion in Jainism is nothing more than a process of realizing our own intrinsic essence. It places a strong emphasis on living a decent life. The guiding principles of one's life, according to Jainism, should be Mitimi Sarva Bhuteshu. May I have a friendly relation with all beings. A distinction is made in Jainism between jivas and ajivas. As a result, it is dualism. It is also pluralistic in the notion that it acknowledges an endless number of animate and inanimate substances. Metaphysical realism is another term for it. They also believe that each atom has a soul, but that it is not jiva because they lack sense organs. The soul is both eternal and transient. Jainism puts substances into two categories based on their spatial extension, those that are and those that are not. Although Jainism acknowledges the existence of souls, it rejects the concept of an ultimate universal soul. Now, students, let us discuss the epistemology of Jainism. Knowledge is regarded as a way to liberation in Indian philosophy. Knowledge is considered one of the biggest paths to nirvana in Jainism. Jainism has a unique perspective on knowledge. Knowledge is a state of the soul, not something that can be comprehended and retained by the soul. The soul's essence is knowledge. Only the liberated spirit has complete knowledge of all objects. Every soul that is capable of manifesting itself and other objects has an inseparable element called consciousness. The doctrine of relativity of knowledge and judgments is promoted by Jainism. All knowledge in Jainism is divided into two categories. One, mediate, means paroksa, and immediate, means aparoksa. Any knowledge acquired by the soul through the mediation of sense organs is referred to as mediated knowledge. Any knowledge acquired by means other than the soul itself is referred to as mediated knowledge. Immediate knowledge, on the other hand, is that which the soul acquires without the use of sense organs. The Jain classification of knowledge is based on how knowledge is acquired rather than what knowledge is acquired. The primary distinction between these two sorts of knowledge is how they are perceived. The former is cognized with the aid of the senses, whereas the latter is cognized without the use of the senses. Because the senses and intellect, means things other than the soul itself, play a role in direct perception, whether internal or external, which is viewed as immediate knowledge by many schools. Jainism considers it to be mediated. In Jainism, such perceptual awareness is sometimes referred as relatively immediate, as opposed to absolutely immediate, in which the soul has gained by releasing itself from all karmic impediments as a result of that consciousness. Suprasensual, non-conceptual, non-perceptual, intuitive knowledge means Kevala Janana is a term that we might use to describe totally immediate understanding. As a result, knowledge is a state of the soul itself rather than something external to be grasped and possessed by it. Immediate knowledge is divided into avadhi, manna, paryaya, and kevala, and mediate knowledge into mati and shruti. Now let us discuss what is avadhi or clairvoyance. When a person is somewhat free of the karma's influences, he gains the capacity to comprehend items that have forms but are too far away, minute, or obscure to be seen with the senses or thoughts. Because such direct information is limited, it is referred to as avidya janana. Next is manna paryaya, is the direct understanding of another person's thinking. When a person overcomes difficulties like as hatred, jealousy, and others, which form barriers to understanding other minds, he can have direct access to the current and past thoughts of others. Mana paryaya is the name given to this type of knowledge entering a mind. The soul has direct awareness in both avadhi and manna paryaya without the aid of the senses or the thinking. As a result, they are referred to as instant despite the fact that they are only temporary. Next is kevala or omniscience. When all karmas that block knowledge are entirely erased from the soul, absolute knowledge or omniscience arises in it. This is referred to as kevala janana. It is absolute and limitless knowledge. However, a typical person possesses two types of ordinary knowledge known as mati and shruti. What's mati? Mati is sensuous cognition. Sensory perception is referred to as mati janana. The sense organs and the mind are the most important tools for cognition in this case. In most cases, mati refers to any type of knowledge that we can gain through our senses or through manas. The process by which mati occurs is described by Jains as there is merely a sensation at first, and no one knows what that means. Avagraha is the name given to this initial stage of consciousness, sensation. Then there is a question. Iha is the term for this. Inquisitive mental state means speculation. Then there is a final judgment. This is known as avaya, removal of doubt. The ascertained information is then stored in the memory. This is referred to as dharana, retention. Next is sadvada, the Jaina theory of judgment. Every decision we make about an object in our daily lives is true only in terms of the perspective we are and the aspect of the object we are looking at. In light of these facts, the Jain requires that every judgment, means nyaya, be qualified by a term like somehow, syat, which means in some regard, so that the judgment's limitations and the possibility of other alternative judgments from different points of view are constantly explicitly remembered. Sadvada, or the doctrine of the relativity of knowledge and judgments, is a Jaina belief that all of our ordinary knowledge is inherently partial, constantly relative to some particular point of view and regarding particular aspects of objects. Syad means relative to some standpoint. Vada means doctrine, theory, view. They substantiated their opinion that every assertion is only conditional and no proposition can be either absolutely affirmed or absolutely rejected using the sevenfold formula. Jains qualify their claims with sayat, somehow, or in a sense, in each circumstance. These are the schema for the sevenfold classification of predictions. Number 1, somehow a thing exists. Second, somehow a thing does not exist. Third, somehow a thing both exists and does not exist. Fourth, somehow a thing is indescribable. Fifth, somehow a thing exists and is indescribable. Sixth, somehow a thing does not exist and is indescribable. Last and the seventh is somehow a thing both exists and does not exist and is indescribable. Now, dear students, let us discuss about the concept of soul or jiva. The soul or jiva is a conscious substance. The soul's essence is consciousness. It is constantly present in the soul, albeit the nature and degree of its presence may differ. According to the degrees of consciousness, souls may conceivably be placed in a continuous succession. Perfect souls who have vanquished all karmas and acquired omniscience would be at the top of the scale. Would the most flawed souls inhabiting earth, water, fire, air, or vegetable bodies be at the bottom? They look to be devoid of life and consciousness. However, tactile consciousness is present even here. It is simply that the consciousness is in a latent state due to the excessive influence of karma obstacles. These souls have 2 to 5 senses like worms, ants, bees, and men. The soul is the part of the body that knows things, does things, enjoys pleasures, sufferings, and illuminates it and other objects. Although the soul is eternal, it does change states. It is distinct from the body, and its existence is explicitly demonstrated by its awareness of its own existence. It lights or awakens the entire body in which it resides, much like a lamp. It takes on the size and shape of the body in which it dwells, despite the fact that it has no form, means murti. Jiva is said to occupy space or possesses extension in this sense. The jiva is not limitless, but rather co-extensive with the body, as it can only know objects within the body at any given time. Consciousness does not exist everywhere, it only exists in the body. The soul is luminous, all-knowing, and delightful by nature. In the universe, there are unlimited number of souls, all basically identical but varying due to the adherence of matter in the fine atomic form. This subtle stuff, which is completely invisible to the naked sight, is karma, the immaterial obscured by karmic matter, which obtains a spiritual and eventually a physical body. The gradual clouding of a bright, oily surface by dust is comparable to the obscuring of the spirit. As a result of an action, karma sticks to the soul. Every action generates some form of karma, but harsh and selfish actions generate more dangerous karma than others. The karma that has previously been acquired leads to the acquisition of additional karma, and thus the cycle of transmigration continues indefinitely. Now let us discuss about the concept of self in Jainism. Jainism, traditionally known as Jain Dharma, is one of the oldest religions in India. Followers of Jainism are called Jains, a word derived from the Sanskrit word Jina, victor, referring to the path of victory in crossing over life's streams of rebirths by destroying karma through an ethical and spiritual life. The central concept of Jain psychology is jiva, means self, a living organism, a biological being, a conjoint psychophysical entity. Every organism is an organic unity of two distinct entities, jiva, soul, and pajala, matter, soul and body. The two are distinct entities because the nature of consciousness or soul is radically different from matter and both have opposite qualities. Jiva or soul is conscious, non-physical, and has subjective ways of thinking, feeling, and volition, while matter or body is non-conscious, physical, inanimate entity having characteristic sense qualities of touch, taste, smell, and color. According to Jainism, the nature of jiva is chetana, means consciousness. Life and consciousness coexists. Wherever there is life, there is consciousness. Jainism recognizes jiva or self as an eternal entity. Self is regarded as beginningless and as having unending continuous existence. It has neither a beginning nor an end. It is an entity that lived in the past and which continues to live in the present and which will live certainly in the future too. Though it cannot be perceived, it has some features by which we can know of its existence. These manifest and essential features are its life essentials, such as indriya or senses, bala or channel of activities, ayu or life duration, and vacharsa or respiration, which are the signs of its presence in a bodily form. Now let us discuss about the inanimate substances or jiva, the material bodies that souls inhabit, as well as the other material objects that make up their environment, make up the physical world in which they develop. Space, time, and the conditions of motion and rest, in addition to these fundamental components, are required to properly describe the world and its events. The various substances are described as matter or pajala. In Jain's philosophy, the matter is known as pajala, which translates to that which is prone to integration and disintegration. Material substances can join to produce larger and larger wholes, as well as disintegrate into smaller and smaller pieces. Atoms are the smallest elements of stuff that can't be further separated because they are partless, means anu. Compounds are formed when two or more of these atoms mix, sangha, or sakandas. Our bodies and natural objects are made up of material atoms in this way. Matter also produces the mind, means manas, speech, and breath. The four attributes of a material substance are touch, taste, smell, and color. Atoms and their products, compounds, both have these characteristics. Sound, like light, heat, shadow, darkness, union, disunion, fineness, grossness, and shape, according to the Jaina, is not an original quality like these four. They claim that sound, like light, heat, shadow, darkness, union, disunion, fineness, grossness, and shape, is created later by the unforeseen modification of matter. Now, what the philosophy says about space or akasa. The purpose of space is to make room for all extended substances to exist. In space, soul, matter, dharma, and adharma all exist. Other categories can exist and act in space because it is a formless object. Loka and aloka exist in space. Loka is the material cosmos, which is divided into three levels: the underworld or hell, adoloka, which is home to the wicked souls, the terrestrial level in the center, urdhva and aloka, the empty non-world, which marks the universe's end. All three stages are above the emancipated state. It's called the Siddha Loka, and it is pinnacle of human existence, dharma and adharma. In the same manner that karma has a special and unique meaning in Jainism, dharma and adharma have a specific and unique meaning as well. Dharma is action and adharma is inaction, or dharma is motion and adharma is rest. Such assumptions are based on mobility and immobility, motion and rest. The movement of a soul or a physical object necessitates some auxiliary condition, without which it is impossible to move. Dharma is a material that represents such a state. Dharma can only favor or aid the motion of moving objects. It cannot cause a non-moving objects to move. On the contrary, it is substance that aids the resting states or immobility of objects, much as a tree's shade aids a traveler's rest, or the soil sustains things that rest on it. It can't, however, stop a moving object from going, though they are fundamentally opposite. Dharma and adharma are similar in that they are everlasting, formless, and non-moving, and they pervade all of the space, loka kasa. Both are present in this technical sense, but not in their common moral senses as prerequisites of motion and rest. Remote and passive instrumental circumstances include space, time, dharma, and adharma. Now, I hope you understood the concept. Now let us conclude. In today's world, where religion is losing its grip on humanity, Jainism plays an important role. In spite of its small number of followers, it continues to inspire and influence many. In modern times, Jainism is undergoing a process of revival. This is partly due to the Western interest in this old religious tradition of India. Numerous scholarly works have been written on Jainism by Western authors as well as Indian Jains. Jainism holds an integral view of life. Either faith or only knowledge by itself cannot take us to the path of salvation. We should have a combination of the right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct to tread the path of salvation. These constitute the three jewels of Jainism. Jainism teaches us that it is possible to attain liberation and thereby one's potential through personal efforts. The message of Jainism is full of pragmatic optimism. The core of the Jaina religion is its ethics. Jainism has exerted and still exerts immense influence on humanity. This is especially notable in their propagation and promotion of the ideal of non-violence. The religion of the Jaina is a religion of the strong and the brave. It is a religion of self-help. With this, we complete our today's lecture. Hope you understood well, and see you soon. Thank you.